this question pops up a lot. It's a quite a set. It's an interesting and useful question to be answered, but there are a few things we need to discuss. Let's talk about that. So like, subscribe, and comment. It really helps. And let's discuss the following. People often ask me what are the best beginner Linuxes. This is an easy answer to answer, but it's also a hard question to answer. But it depends on a few things, and with no specific order, personal preference of who is recommending you guys. So if you ask five different Linux experts, most likely you'll have 5 different answers. Okay, because every Linux expert, like myself, will have a different opinion from the next guy, and it depends on the next guy. Some people are a little bit more, how do you say it, passionate about their choices. Some people are more passionate about their specific choices about Linuxes and all their variants, all the distributions that are out there. I'm not that guy. I'm quite relaxed. If you prefer be happy with it. If you prefer be happy with it. I'm happy with your own choice. But if you ask me, my recommendation, this is my own recommendation, okay? And this is what I have divided this in a few categories: desktop, server, and for gaming. Okay, so I'm going to give you some suggestions about all of these topics: desktop, server, and for gaming. Before I do this, big disclaimer. Okay, big disclaimer. Since you're watching this video, you're probably a Linux beginner. If you are, or if it's confirmed that you are a Linux beginner, let me highly advise you not to install or try to install Linux on your computer that you use every day. Okay? Installing Linux, even though it has been evolving quite a lot and got easier throughout the years, it can be deceiving for the most unexperienced. So if you are an unexperienced person, which I assume you are because you're watching this video, please be careful with that. Don't install or don't start an installation without knowing what you're doing, okay? So if you are going to give your first steps trying out Linux, all right? Do options and let me know in the comments below if you want me to make a video in more detail about this. Don't install this on your production machine. Get a secondary machine, a cheap laptop, a cheap desktop, whatever, and install there, or use virtual machines. Do not try to install Linux on a machine you'll use every day. Most likely, you'll break stuff, and then you are left SOL. So, first, if you are installing Linux for the first time, if you are testing out Linux for the first time or first times, do not attempt an installation on the computer you need to use for work or your everyday activities. Do not do that. If you're going to install Linux for the first times, if you are experimenting with Linux, either get a secondary PC, a cheap laptop will do just fine, or use virtual machines. If you want more detail about this, let me know in the comments below and I can make content about that. I will do it, but if you want me to do it sooner, let me know in the comments below and I'll do a video on how to install Linux or any Linux flavor on a physical machine or in virtual machines. Once again, I digress, I know, but if you are installing Linux for the first times, do not attempt to do that in your day-to-day work machine. Do not do that on your workhorse. Do in some environment that you can actually live without if something bad occurs. Okay? Warning issued. Here we go. So for desktop, these are my recommendations. Okay? For desktop, you should be going with some Debian-based distribution. Stop the comments. Stop shouting at me at the comments. This is just my opinion. If you have a different opinion, let me know in the comments below. That's why this discussion is getting opened. So for desktop, I recommend something based on Debian. With no specific order, Mint Linux. Mint Linux is a very good distribution based on Debian. Or Ubuntu. Ubuntu with GNOME Desktop, KDE Desktop, or the vanilla default Ubuntu Desktop. Okay? So go for Mint, go for Ubuntu. Try one, try the other. But when I say try one and try the other, do that on a separate machine, on a virtual machine. And do not try for 2 hours, okay? Example, install Mint, okay? And try it out for a week, okay? Then install Ubuntu and try that for a week. Don't do that on a production machine, okay? You need to actually adapt and wait for things to occur and things come to you. Or install Ubuntu first, give it a week, and install Mint after, give it a week. So see if you can get your production software up and running, see if you can actually configure the network, see if you can do your stuff like you wanted to do, okay? So Debian-based, Mint, and Ubuntu, in no specific order, okay? If you want to go to the further distribution, Debian itself, you can also do that, okay? So Mint and Ubuntu are all around the Debian ecosystem, okay? I like Mint myself when we talk about Debian. I like the mothership. I like Debian himself too. But if someone asks me for a Debian-based distribution that I would recommend, I use Mint every day as one of my desktop machines. So I trust Mint. It's a very good distribution, very good desktop software, and it just works. But with no specific order, Mint, Debian, and Ubuntu. No specific order. Try one, try the other, and try the other. But when I say try, it's not for a couple of hours. Give it time to mature, and you get yourself acquainted to every one of them. Okay? If you want to go outside of the Debian ecosystem, try Fedora. Okay? Fedora is not Debian based, it's its own ecosystem, so can experiment with something different than Debian. Okay? When you install one Debian-based distribution like Mint or Ubuntu, you can jump one to another and you feel quite at home. When you go to Fedora, it can be a little bit of a shock. You will get quite of a shock of a difference. Again, install Fedora, give it a week, and see how you feel. Fedora, it's a little. I don't enjoy Fedora that much, but that's me, and I'm a Red Hat guy. Okay, and I'm a Red Hat guy. And Fedora, it's kind of linked to Red Hat. That's another story. I don't enjoy it that much, but that's just my opinion. You should try for yourself. Install Fedora and see how do you feel about that distribution. Install it, give it a week, and see how you feel. If you prefer Fedora over the previous ones, congratulations, you found yourself a distribution to work every day. Now, going to the server side. Well, there are many options here, but I can recommend number one, something Red Hat based. Again, I'm really biased. I am very, very involved in Red Hat, okay? So that's why I prefer. But to keep things completely free and open source, well, not open source, but completely free, you can go for Rocky Linux. It's basically RHEL for completely free, without no strings attached. That's fine. That's my number one. That's my goat. That's the one I go, because I am very deeply in the Red Hat ecosystem in the server side. If you want to experiment with something more Debian based, for example, something to be more related with Mint and Ubuntu, you have Ubuntu server, of course, and you have Debian itself. Okay, the mothership Debian, it's a very good and excellent server platform. If you want to go for gaming, I do not recommend. If you are a beginner, do not go to any gaming-based distribution. I will not mention names because first, get yourself comfortable with the regular day-to-day use of a desktop or server, Linux server or Linux desktop. Okay? So don't try gaming before you actually understand the ins and outs of Linux. You don't have to become an expert, but install drivers, install packages, update packages, kernel updates, configure the network, graphics cards. So get yourself acquainted with day-to-day use of any Linux desktop system and go from there. I'm not going to recommend any gaming Linuxes because that's not the goal of this video. This is to recommend beginning steps for the unexperienced Linux user. Okay? So, and before your keyboard warriors starting to say, oh, any server Linux can be a desktop Linux. Any desktop Linux can be a server Linux. Yes, I am aware of that. Rocky and RHEL can be desktop machines. I know. But each distribution has it's more tailored to a specific function. And Rocky, RHEL, and Ubuntu servers are not tailored to that. They can, but they are not optimized to do so. So if you, and for the beginner, much less so. So as a review, for a beginner, desktop-based, Debian-based, Mint, Ubuntu, or Debian itself, okay? So I would highly recommend Mint or Ubuntu. Install, give it a week, and go next. Non-Debian, I would say for the beginner, Fedora is recommended. Server, Rocky, RHEL, Ubuntu server, or Debian. Gaming, get yourself comfortable with any Linux, desktop Linux, and go from there. Okay? So, desktop, Ubuntu, or Mint. Debian if you want to test, try the mothership. No Debian, Fedora, server, Rocky, Ubuntu server, or Debian. I do prefer Rocky because of the reasons as explained, but that's just me. That's your choice to make. Again, less recommendations. Let's say you also listen to my advice and try to install and want to try Mint. Excellent choice. Get yourself a cheap laptop or cheap desktop, whatever you prefer, or have a desktop lying around. It's fine. Or if you are a little bit more advanced, you can go to the cloud, but that's a little more advanced. Mint or Ubuntu, or the mothership Debian, not Debian, Fedora, server, RHEL or Rocky, Ubuntu server or Debian server. If you are going for gaming, first get yourself experienced with a desktop edition system, get yourself comfortable using your Linux on a day-to-day basis, and then you go to gaming. All right? So keep your work safe, keep your workhorse safe, because installing a Linux side by side with Windows, if you do a mistake, you may lose your Windows altogether. This is something I highly advise you. If you are a beginner, which I assume you are, install this on a separate machine or on a virtual machine. Please do that, or else you may regret your decision of not doing this. All right? So try this out. Let me know. Please comment down below any question you may have. I don't have the absolute truth. This is just my opinion, my recommendation. I hope you start with these beginning steps and then you build your own knowledge and get better and better on Linux every day. Like, subscribe, and comment, especially in this video. Comment, ask questions. I'm really happy to answer all the questions, and I'm sure the rest of the community is also happy to answer them. Just don't be fanatic and don't be, oh, this is the only solution. Now there are several solutions, people are different, and they have different choices. For the last time, this video at least, like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.